Aye, we give you the facts. It's not what you think. Popeye Newsling, Young King, 1 yard, bless.
Good morning, Popeye. Grandma watch Popeyes every morning and every night.
Greetings, viewers and subscribers. So we have been telling you about the serial RayPaFish who have been picked up by the police. We have now been given the all clear to release his photographs. There he is on your screen. That's Marlon Millis. On February 10th next year, 2023, Marlon will be celebrating his 44th birthday. Marlon is of a slim build, fair complexion, and about 6 feet, 1 inch tall. Now, I'm going to be giving you some history about Marlon that you will not get anywhere else. Marlon is from a place named Racetrack in the parish of Clarendon. Marlon, he joined the Jamaica Constabulary Force in 2002 at the age of 23. Yes, Marlon, he was a police officer. Now, after graduating from the Jamaica Police Academy, Marlon was transferred to Kingston. Now, whilst in Kingston, Marlon, he was charged by the police for the offense of buggery. Now, do you know what buggery means? Yes, man, it means entering from the rear. You know what that means? You have to go figure it out. Well, Marlon, he was brought to the courts, and after some time, the case was dismissed because the person who had made the allegations against Marlon did not go to court. Marlon, he was reinstated in the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and he was transferred to the parish of Clarendon, where he is from. Whilst in Clarendon, Marlon, he was again charged by the police for the offense of buggery as also wounding. The witness in this case went to court and testified, and Marlon, he was found guilty and he was sent away to prison. He also ended up losing his job as a police constable. Marlon, he was released from prison and he was still living in the parish of Clarendon. Now, Marlon, he loved basketball. We are told that he's a very good player at basketball. He coordinated a few basketball leagues in the parish of Clarendon. We have no doubt that Marlon, he has been driving around and committing these acts, and he was getting away with it. And do you know why we say that? In March of this year, 2022, a 12-year-old girl and a relative, they were walking along the Four Parts main road in Clarendon when it is alleged that Marlon, he drove up and he offered them a ride to go where they were going. On reaching a certain section along the road, it is said that Marlon, he stopped and he ordered the relative of the 12-year-old girl out of the vehicle. Marlon then drove away with the 12-year-old girl. That 12-year-old girl, she was not seen until the next day when Marlon released her in a nearby district. When the 12-year-old was questioned by her relative, what she outlined was akin to a horror story. Marlon, he had his way with her all night. A report was made to the police and they commenced investigation. Marlon was eventually picked up by the police and he was pointed out on an identification parade by the 12-year-old girl. Marlon, he was subsequently charged by the police for the offenses of abduction and buggery. Did you hear what I just said that Marlon was charged for? 43-year-old, 6 foot 1 inch Marlon, he was charged for buggering this 12-year-old girl. So here is why I said that I have no doubt that Marlon has been doing a lot more and getting away with it. In November 2021, a 16-year-old girl, she was walking along a main road in Clarendon when she too was picked up and abducted by Marlon. Marlon, it is alleged that he sexually assaulted her. It was whilst Marlon was in police custody for the offenses committed against the 12-year-old girl, the investigators realized that he might be the same guy who had committed the sexual offenses against the 16-year-old female. Marlon was placed on an identification parade where he was identified by this 16-year-old. Marlon was charged for the same offenses, abduction and buggery. Marlon went to court in Clarendon on 2 counts of abduction and buggery committed against a 12-year-old and a 16-year-old female. Marlon, he had served time in prison and he ended up losing his job as a police officer for the same crime. And yet still, the judge in Clarendon offered him bail. And not only did the judge offer Marlon bail, Marlon, he was told that he had to relocate from Clarendon, and the only time he should be seen in Clarendon is on his court dates. So, let me ask you something. What was this judge expecting? Was this judge expecting that a change of address would change Marlon from his sick ways? No, Marlon, he picked up his bail. He relocated to Namprel Road in Negril in the parish of Westmoreland, where he continued with his dirty, nasty ways. On Tuesday, October 11th, 2022, about 4:30 in the afternoon, a young 12-year-old baby girl, she was on her way from school. She was walking home when the allegations are that Marlon, he drove up in his black Toyota RAV4 registration number 1921 JT. He stopped beside this baby girl and he engaged her in a conversation. He told her to come into the vehicle so that he could take her home, but the 12-year-old baby girl, she refused. 6 foot 1 inch Marlon, he then jumped out of the RAV4 and he forced this 12-year-old girl into the vehicle. He then threatened her that if she made any noise at all, she would be killed. Marlon, he then drove onto the Hendon Mall in Savannah Lamar, where for about 15 minutes, he had his way with this 12-year-old girl. He then let her out of the vehicle and drove away. The 12-year-old girl, she went home and she reported the matter to her parents. Now, just imagine for a moment. You send your 12-year-old baby girl to school. You are at home, waiting for her to come home so that you could ask her, what did she do in school today? So you could also ask her if she had gotten any homework. But when you look, you see your 12-year-old baby girl entering the yard, entering the house, crying. When you questioned her and she replied, you had to pinch yourself to ensure that you were not dreaming. Boy, may I tell you. So, like we have reported, Marlon, he was arrested and charged. He was brought before the Savannah Lamar Parish Court yesterday, Thursday, October 20, where the parish judge revoked the bail that Marlon was on in Clarendon and he was remanded in custody. Now, let's hope that Marlon, he stays in police custody until his trial, and if he's found guilty, let's hope he's given a long prison sentence. The mayhem continues. Blessed love, everybody.
Tell a friend for tell a friend for tell a friend about Popeye Newslink and PNL Blog TV. Like, subscribe and share. Quicksilver sing, if we just unite, what a country this will be. If we just unite, Jamaica live in unity. If we just unite, what a country this will be. If we just unite, Jamaica live in unity. Hey, crime it a mash up Jamaica. Criminals them a mash up Jamaica. Jamaicans mash up Jamaica. Oh Jamaica, me sweet Jamaica. Crime it a mash up Jamaica. Criminals them a mash up Jamaica. Jamaicans mash up Jamaica. Oh Jamaica, me sweet Jamaica. I coulda sunshine or rain. Jamaica, no problem, no pain. Rude boy them no out can't tame, but me want me country back. Give me country back. To the street and the lane, everybody them start complain. Bloodshed, what a shame, but me want me country back. Give me country back. Crime it a mash up Jamaica. Criminals them a Jamaica. Criminals them a mash up Jamaica. Jamaicans mash up Jamaica. Oh Jamaica, me sweet Jamaica. Jamaica, Jamaica, the land of the sun. Jamaica become now the